All right, welcome to week 11. Okay, we are doing some exciting math. We talked about zero products last time, and now we're going to talk about perfect squares. So let's look at this first scenario here. Draw a diagram and write an equation to the scenario below. Solve the equation. Okay, Ernie is going to install a square hot tub in his backyard. So here's his backyard. He plans to add a 3-foot wide deck on 2 adjacent sides of the hot tub. So adjacent means next to again. His backyard, which is also square, has 169 feet of space. So 169 is really 13 times 13 is 169. So that means his backyard is 13 by 13. He wants to have a 3-foot deck. So if he puts 3 feet in here this way, and 3 feet in here this way, right? This would be one adjacent side, a second adjacent side to the hot tub. Then what is the dimensions of the hot tub? It'd be a 10 by 10 would be the largest that he could put in, a 10 by 10. All right? So that's how I do that problem. Let me pause for 1 second. See, I was doing a little bit of work over here because I think there's a different way that the publisher wanted me to show this one, but this is through logic. So let's get into this next section right here. And I'm not going to do this without writing. I want to show you how you would solve this problem. All right? It says x minus 1 quantity squared. Well, I want to get rid of that squared, so I'm going to have to take the square root of this side. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other side. So when you have the power of 2 and a square root, they end up canceling each other out. So this side just gives me x minus 1. And on here, I get the square root of 4 is 2, but it's really positive 2 and negative 2. So I end up with x minus 1 equals 2, and x minus 1 equals negative 2. And I'm going to solve each of those problems. If I add 1 here, I get x equals 3. If I add 1 here, I get x equals negative 1. So these are my 2 answers for that problem. Okay, so notice this problem has 2 answers. Let's look at this side. If I take the square root of both sides, I'm going to get x minus 1, because remember the square and the square root cancel, equals 0. Well, positive 0 and negative 0, that doesn't exist, so we just as one answer. If I add 1 to both sides, I get x equals 1. Okay, so this has one answer. And in this problem, I'm going to take the square root of both sides, and then I get x minus 1 equals, well, what is the square root of a negative number? What number times itself is going to give me a negative number? It does not exist. None. There's none. No answer. Okay? None or no solution. Probably a better way to write that. No solution. Right? So what method did we use to solve? We squared both sides. Square both sides. Let's look at this next problem. They do have a picture of algebra tiles, but we can do this without algebra tiles. We're going to solve this the same way we did those problems up there. We're going to take x minus 3 squared and take the square root of it. If I take the square root of one side, I have to take the square root of the other side. And here I'm going to get x minus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of 12. Well, how do I deal with this 12 right here? Well, this 12 can be written as 4 times 3, and we know that the square root of 4 is 2, so I get 2 radical 3. So x minus 3 equals plus or minus 2 radical 3. I'm writing it in radical form, or the exact form. And I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and I'm going to get x equals, I'm going to add 3 here, I'm going to add 3 here, plus or minus 2 radical 3 plus 3. Really the best way to write that is 3 plus or minus 2 radical 3. So I have 2 answers, 2 solutions. 2 solutions there. I have 3 plus 2 radical 3, and I have 3 minus 2 radical 3. And what is their approximate decimal form? Well, I'm going to type that into the calculator. You can go to Desmos, and you're going to get 3 plus 2 radical 3 equals 6.4641. and 3 minus 2 radical 3 equals negative 0.4641. Okay, it's kind of interesting that they're very similar, right? So 2 different answers. All right, let's look at the next page. So notice our review. We saw that a quadratic equation might have one solution, no solutions, or two. It could have 2 solutions. How do you determine the number of solutions? Well, what we notice is that if it was a positive number, let's go back and look right here. See, we had the positive number 4, I had 2 solutions. I had the number 0, I had 1 solution. Then I had a negative number, and that meant no solution whatsoever. So that's what we're going to just write up here. If it's a positive number, if it equals a positive number, it's going to have 2 solutions. If the number is 0, it's going to have 1 solution. And if it's a negative number, it's going to have no solutions. No solutions. So let's use that idea. Now, without solve these equations below, and we want to look for patterns that have no solution. They're 1 solution. So again, let's go through and take the square root. So I'm going to have 2x plus 3. The square and the square root cancel each other out, equal plus or minus 7, because the square root of 49 is 7. 7 times 7 makes 49. So I'm going to get 2x plus 3 equals 7. 2x minus 3 equals negative 7. So here, if I add 3 to both sides, I'm going to get 2x equals 10, or x equals 5. If I add 3 here, I'm going to get 2x equals negative 4, or x equals negative 2. Oh, I had 2 solutions. That makes sense because 49 is a positive number. So see, a positive number, 2 solutions. Let's see what's happening over here. Let me take the square root of both sides. Oh my, this is a negative. I cannot take the square root of a negative. So this means this has no solutions. Okay, remember, if it's a negative number, no solutions. And then let's solve this one. To solve a quadratic equation like this, you have to get the term with the power of 2 all by itself. So here we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. So you get x plus 11 squared equals 0. And what happens when there's just 0? There's just going to be 1 solution. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. We get x plus 11 equals 0, or x equals negative 11. Right? So that does help us determine. Let's look at problem number 2 here. Determine how many solutions. I don't need to solve this one. I just have to determine how many solutions. So right away, I see that this one is set equal to 0. So remember 0, I could look at my little notes at the top. 0 only has 1 solution. So if I come here and I go, so this is going to be 1 solution. Okay. This is to a positive number right here. So a positive number, that's going to be 2 solutions. And the reason I saved this first one for last is I have to do a little bit of solving. I have to see how this term squared is all by itself on the equal sign. Same with this one over here. But over here I have to subtract 6 from both sides. So we're going to get 5x minus 2 quantity squared equals negative 6. Now that this term is by itself, oh, look at this is a negative number. And so that is a big hint that there are no solutions. All right? I'm going to turn on Desmos in just a second, and we're going to look at these graphs right here. This graph is going to be drawn here, this one here, and let's see what happens. So if I go to Desmos, hold on, I have to be able to access Desmos, and for whatever reason I can't seem to get it. Why does this always happen to me? Hold on. Okay, I think I got it. Let's go like this. All right, my very first equation, I'm going to plug that in, and look what happens. I have a little parabola. It's a little bit over to the right of the y-axis. So it's going to hit 5x minus 2 plus 6 like this. I don't know if you can see me drawing in that little square. I'll come back to it. Look at the second one. The second one, okay, go ahead and copy that onto your graph. And that's going to hit the x-axis one time. And then the third one, go ahead and draw that on your paper. Okay, you have these three. I had that pre-set up. Now let's look at what your paper looks like. Something like this. Now check this out. This has no solution. Look at how many times this parabola or this graph touches the x-axis. 0 times. This has one solution. Look how many times this parabola touches the x-axis. And this has 2 solutions. Oh, this is going to be, yeah, if I move this 11 over here, that would be 11. Okay, now each of these times in these problems, this is y equals, but see, this is 0 and this is y. We just set y equal to 0. We just set y equal to 0 in each of these equations. This ends up being 11 equals 7 plus 2x squared. And the important thing is to notice is no solution. So what does that mean? How do my graphs relate? So no solution, it means that the parabola, the little shape that's either a U shape going up or down is called a parabola. The parabola does not cross the x-axis. Okay, one solution. What does that mean? And that, remember, that's a 0. That's a negative number. One solution, parabola touches x-axis one time. And then if it's a positive number, we know that there's 2 solutions. And what is happening with our graph if there's 2 solutions? The parabola touches or crosses x-axis 2 times. All right? I hope you understood that. We're going to practice more of this as we go into this week.